It's Nutritionist Trish Amanda's here, and I'm really excited because I have Jane Ramos here. She's 59, and she has now been working with me for 25 weeks. For about 6 months, she's been eating optimally. Thanks so much for being here, Jane, and sharing your experience with us. I appreciate it.
Good to be here.
So please inform us if you can remember back to how you felt before you joined. What was going on with your health, your weight that you were really concerned about?
Well, this was at the end of 2022, and I had just been diagnosed with OHS, which is Obesity Hypoventilation Syndrome, which meant that I couldn't go 6 or 10 feet without being completely out of breath. I was also about 292 pounds, and I have been this way since I can remember. I've carried this weight for that many years, and I've been a diabetic for 20 years. And I was feeling as though I was just surviving and I wasn't living my life. And the doctors were telling me, you have to get rid of the weight. You have to get rid of the weight. And doctors can be very dry and tell you that this is the only thing that's going to help. And when you've tried every program you've ever heard of before and nothing has ever helped, it's hard to deal with that kind of a diagnosis. So I was miserable. I was not happy physically, mentally, emotionally. It was a low point. And then over the New Year break, I found Trish on Facebook. And here was a program that was not counting calories, that was not going to make me eat foods that I didn't like. And here was a built-in 24/7 cheerleader. And it was different from anything I had ever tried before. And I talked to Trish, and I started with a lot of doubt because that's where I was in my head at the time. And I said, well, you know what can it hurt? Let's try this. Let's do something different.
I want to pause you for a second. So you joined despite feeling doubt.
Yes.
And why is that? Why did you decide to join, even though, were you just not sure if it would work, even though you were excited about it? Tell me more.
I didn't think anything was going to work. But out of all the times that I had spent going to doctor after doctor after doctor trying to get this diagnosis, you were the bright spot. You were the one that said, this is possible. And nobody had ever said, this is possible. You can do this. You can do it this way. And I'm going to show you how to do it this way. And all the other things that I had ever tried, that had never come up.
So you decided to go for it. You signed up for 10 weeks, and you ended up continuing to work with me for another 12 weeks after that. So we're on week 25. And what are some of the results that you've experienced since eating optimally?
I was surprised to find that after about 2 or 3 weeks, I was sold because I was seeing weight loss. I was feeling better physically. I was feeling better mentally because something that I was doing was actually working. Emotionally, everything was positive. Every time I talked to you, it was positive. And I could see myself hitting goal after goal after goal and understanding why we write those down and why we go back and look at that all the time to see where you are, where you've been, and what you can do instead of, oh, this is not going to work.
So you said after a couple of weeks, I started feeling better. In what ways did you start feeling better physically after just a couple of weeks?
After a couple of weeks, I noticed that I was still out of breath, but I was walking a little further every day. I was not feeling so bloated and not feeling uncomfortable after I ate because of what I was eating. And the amount that I was eating 5 times a day. And there were days when it was like, no, I don't want to eat another meal. And for a Southern kid, that's unheard of. I mean, we always want to eat. We want to eat with everybody and everything. I had finally won the war over food. I knew what to eat, what not to eat, when to do it. And I just, overall, I felt like I had gotten my life back. I had some control where in the past, nothing had worked. So
I love that so much. So you were able to, and I remember reading in your food journal, like, oh, I could walk from here to here today. Whereas before you couldn't walk that far, right? Only 6 to 10 feet without being out of breath. So it was like you were gaining momentum, like every week you walk further and further. And I remember when you did your first waterfall hike. And then what did you do today? Yep. Now that you're 25 weeks in, right? Before you had this call, which I love that you did it today. What did you do?
I took the dog, and I said, you know what? We're just going to go. We're going to see how far we can go. And he's a little overweight because he's spoiled rotten. And I was overweight because I spoiled myself rotten. And I said, we're just going to go and see what we can do. And I had already driven the route we took, so I knew how much a mile was. So we went just a little past half a mile and came back. And it's beautiful out. It's 70 degrees. There's no humidity. It was an easy walk. It was flat because I didn't want to do too much all at once. But he was out of breath.
When we first talked today, did you say you did a 2-mile walk?
I did about over a half a mile, and then came back. So that was about 1.5 miles or so, okay. I guess.
That's beautiful. That's awesome. So you went from half of a year ago to not being able to walk more than 10 feet with being out of breath. And now you're walking like 1.5 miles without being out of breath. And are you comfortable if I share your weight loss results?
Absolutely.
Okay. So Jane couldn't exercise when she first came to me because she couldn't get enough oxygen into her body. So despite that, and despite not calorie counting, no portion control, Jane's now down 27 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
Despite eating optimal foods, feeling full and satiated, that gave her more energy. And what's happened with your medications that you're on too?
I started out with about 10 different medications, and I was taking the maximum dose of all of the different medications. And I went to the doctor the first week of May, and she took a look at the blood work and all the numbers that had come in. I went from an A1c of 7, I think it was 7.5, down to 6.5. And she said that was unheard of. My blood sugar readings during the day went from like 160, 170 down to 115. And today I'm considered, after 20 years of being a diabetic, I am considered pre-diabetic. So if I go down just a little bit more and I get it under 6, then I'm considered normal and I'm off all the medication. They took me down to half of my blood pressure medication. They took me off atorvastatin. So I'm taking less than half of the medications I was 5 months ago.
So freaking cool. So freaking cool.
It is. It really is. Yeah.
And I know that on our last group coaching call, you were like, I'm in this really cute bright shirt, and now I'm wearing cuter clothes that I really like.
Everything that I had no longer fits, which is great because I had a ball giving it away. And I feel like for somebody that likes to be in control and was never in control of their own health, I feel like I'm where I need to be, and I know what I need to do for myself. And for a Southern people pleaser, putting yourself first is hard, but it's what has to be done if you want to live the life you want to live. And I can do that now. I can look at labels. I can look at, I can do the exercises. The confidence is back. And I feel like I could, climb Everest. I'm ready.
So happy for you and so proud of you. Any parting words that you would like to say about how eating optimally has impacted your life, or the program has impacted your life, or what you're just excited for yourself moving forward before we hop off?
I know that this works, and I know that this is the healthiest way for me to take care of myself. And I know that now that I have the information, that I can do this for the rest of my life. I have no intentions to going back to that awful stuff I was eating, because I know how it made me feel. And eating optimally has really shown me that food is energy. It's not entertainment. It's not where you go when you're depressed and you're sad and you're down. I'm not an emotional eater anymore. I use it when I need it, and I know how to take care of myself, which I've never been able to say before.
So happy for you. So proud of you. You've been so inspiring to everyone in the group as well. So thank you so much for being you and being here. And mega congrats again on all the success you've achieved. And thanks so much for sharing your story, Jane.
Yeah.